first part of assembling the head is putting on the nose. So we're going to take our nose, which is right here, that we've pressed flat with the increases on the edges so that it is one flat piece. We're going to be working through both layers of this open end. Here's our nose. We need to attach the nose at round 10, which I've marked right here. So I went ahead and marked round 10, and then we're going to lay our nose at round 10, and then we're going to pin it down so that the edges of the nose line up with the eyes. So I'm going to use my pin that was marking that, and I'm just going to pin the end that I'm not working on. So that I can work at the other end. So, and then we're just going to use that tail that we finished it off with and go through under the stitch here and then down through both layers of the nose. Okay, so then staying in that same row, I'm going to go under the stitch and then down through both layers of the nose. So you see how that's going to work out. I'm going to do this all the way across and I will catch up with you. So we have the top half of our nose sewn down. You'll see how it lines up nicely with our eyeballs like here. And it's kind of open now. So what we're going to do is use the tail from that we started with. So when we started, it says drop. Okay, so we have our nose attached and it's in line with the eyes. The top half of the nose is attached. So next we need to tack down the end. This is the starting tail. So when you started your nose, you changed to leaving a long tail. And a lot of times that's on the inside. I threaded it through so it's sticking out the outside now so we can use it to sew. We're going to sew this down to round 3. So here's your round 1, 2, 3. And you don't want this to go all the way to the tip of the nose. That's the idea. This guy's nose kind of sits up on top of his face. Gives him a little more character and makes him a little more llama-esque. They don't have a nose that goes all the way to the tip of their nose. Their nostrils kind of sit up on top of their head. So I'm going to just put in a few stitches there, and then I'm going to go ahead and leave this undone for now. And then I like to weave in all my ends at the end when I know everything's positioned the way I want it. So there's our nose. And you can see how his head's starting to look like a llama head. Next, we'll do his eyebrows. His eyebrows are little half circles. I went ahead and wove in our starting end already on both eyebrows. You just have to tie that off and weave it in. Make sure you pull it nice and tight because you want this half circle to be a nice crescent. So, we're going to start by lining up the eye with the starting point of the crescent over his eye. And you want it to like kind of cover about halfway. I'm going to flip this over so it's a little easier to see. About halfway. You don't want to go way low because then he looks angry. You don't want to go like way high because then he looks surprised. So give it, about halfway. And you're going to start the crescent right below his eye, right about here. And then sew up through the stitch in the eyebrow. And we're going to be working in a crescent around that safety eye. So the next stitch we're going to go into is this one here. And then up into that stitch. Okay. Then we're going to go into the next stitch above the eye here, and up through the eyebrow. Then again, and see how we're kind of working around the eye here. And you only have 6 stitches to work with, so you're probably going to want to put like 4 kind of above the eye and then 2 on the sides, and that will keep your eyebrow right where you want it to be. Okay, and then oops, down, and we're going to come up right next to the eye, the bottom, and come up through the bottom of that starting chain so that it's nice and flat across the eye like that, see? And then this you can tie off any way you like. With eyes, I usually go back through the hole that I had just been through so that that is nice and flat. So I went back through that hole and came out the other side, and then I will tie it off on this side. But like I said, I'm going to leave that undone until I am done tying it off. So I'm going to do the same on the other eyebrow. The other side, start probably about here, do 4 stitches across, and then 1 down, so that that eyebrow covers about that much of his eye. So next we're going to do ears. Okay, so we have our head done with eyebrows and a nose. Now we need to attach ears. Ears can be a little tricky. So here's the back of your head with your eyes being pointed down. And the nice thing is you can see the backs of the eyebrows from here, so that helps a little bit with placement. And we're going to take each of our ears and we're going to fold them in half this way and kind of give them a squish, because we want them to be curvy when they're on our llama. So I'm going to thread my needle through the tail, and I'm just going to stick it through the other side of the ear and pull tight, and that's going to squish the bottom, and where we have it folded is going to stay folded, so it's going to look like this now. Now we want that to face forward, so, and we want them to be kind of along the back of the head here. So line them up with your eyes, about like this. And then when you flip over, you're going to see that the bottom of your ear needs to line up with the middle of your head here. So when you flip him back over, okay, oops. So with your ear in place where you want it, I would highly recommend pinning this down, but watch for your pins, because amigurumi are not great about, preventing stabbings. So with our ear facing, with our ear facing straight up, we're going to sew with that tail across the bottom here. And up through both layers of ear. And into the next hole. And up through both layers of ear. And then into the next hole. See, I told you they're not very good about preventing stabbings. And up through the bottom layer of ear. Okay, so now I can take my pin out. And now I'm going to tack the fronts down so that this ear stands up by itself. So it should only take 2 stitches on either side. So when I have it upright, I'm going to go down through the stitch next to where I want my ear tacked down, and then up through the next stitch, the next row of stitches on the ear. I'm going to do it again. And up through that next row on the ear. Okay, so then when we flip him over, we're seeing that his ear is doing what we want it to, and our yarn is coming out this side. Now, to keep that curve, what I'm going to do is go in through the head into what would be our next stitch in the head, and come around to the other side where we need to tack down the other ear. Stick my needle out that side. Now when I pull tight, it's going to pull that in and keep that curve for us. So then count 2 stitches up, or 2 rows up. So here's like our 1, 2 rows up for where we want this ear to be tacked down again. And we're going to go in through the ear and then go back down through the stitch we just went through and come out the next one down. And then back through the ear again and into the next stitch of the ear, and this should take you right back to your starting edge of your ear. So now you've got 2 stitches on either side of the ear holding it upright. You can do 3 if you want, if you decide to put your ear a little bit lower. I like them to stick up as high as possible because I think giant ears make these guys look great. So that is how you do ears. You just repeat it with the other ear, and you're going to have to turn and look at them a lot like this so you can see if they're straight or not. Just repeat that with the other ear and your head will be all done.